We're back. We're Black and Curious. I'm Kendrin.
What up? What up? It is Deja. How y'all doing?
Hello. If you've never been here before, welcome. We do a cross section of pop culture and real life. We're here multiple times a week on Mondays and Thursdays. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and like our channel or like this video and subscribe to our channel in advance. Today
Do
we
all the
have
things.
child. Today we have a thematic topic from across multiple areas in the reality TV universe, and that is dating shows. This is maybe a little bit belated, but we still won't get into it.
hmm But that's all right.
These dating shows are not giving safe for Black women.
Not by any stretch of the imagination, honey. They're not made for Black women, Black people. No.
It's not going well. It's not going well. So we have a few examples, a few shows to like kind of tick through. And then we have an article to share with you guys. We're gonna talk through that too. So Love is Blind. We all watched that, AD and Clay.
Tragedy.
Hmm?
The tragedy that was Love is Blind this past season.
Hmm. And this is sort of bringing up we talked about Amanda Seals a little bit earlier, but this idea of like not being protected came up a lot in her interview, and I think it came up a lot with AD as well, where she was talking about how she just didn't feel, or how, I don't know, she said that, or if we like inferred that he was not really jumping to her defense in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
Yeah, I don't think she said that. I think that was something that you were talking about in
Yeah.
the midst of everybody's talking about her body.
Yes. And like he didn't ever come to her defense as far as with the
Mm-mm.
men talking about her or any situation did he really come to her defense or come to her aid in any way. So it just didn't feel like she was protected in that space.
Nope. None whatsoever.
I didn't I wasn't into that. Another one, Married at First Sight, has been a disaster this
It's
season.
giving every season with the
Oh
Black people on it don't work out
my
over
God.
the last few years.
It was a Black woman this season, Lauren, and she was married to a Native American guy. And he was just kind of emotionally a mess and like very rigid in his beliefs. And she gave him a lot of grace as far as his lack of understanding around Black culture and like things that he said in the past, where she was kind of like, would you ever say the N-word? And he was like, yeah, in the past. And then when he was like, have you used any slurs? And that turned into like a thing. And she was like, no. He offered the slur as like, you've never said this before. And she was like, no, I don't even really know what that means. And then she did a little bit of inference about what it meant, and he lost it. Um,
Well, that's unfortunate.
so it was just like, what, huh? Why? And then I feel like the biggest culprit of this dating shows not being safe for Black women is the show that's actually intended to be safe for Black people. It is Ready to Love on OWN.
Ready to love. Girl, that is a travesty in and of itself.
That show,
It is giving drag the girls to hell, honey.
this past season, we can talk about this past season, which I know you probably didn't really watch, but in the seasons even before that, like we see very quickly, like the smart girls are getting kicked out very soon. Like this
hmm
whole feeling of like, no, I want somebody that's feminine and wants to be at home. I don't want to. Somebody this season actually said, I don't care about your degrees. I don't want to hear about that. And it's just like,
hmm Basically, they want women to be young and dumb.
and these are not even supposed
Um,
to be young people on this show. These people are supposed to be in their 30s and their 40s, sometimes
hello,
creeping into their 50s.
and do.
They still not mature.
I'm like, I just don't understand the need to have or the desire for certain Black men to have their counterparts be like unintelligent and like, just kind of lackadaisical, go with the flow. Like you want a child. And that is not the reality. That is
Mm-mm.
not the world we live in. Because just like you got to be out here taking care of yourself, I got to do the same thing.
And there was two like super clear examples this season of Ready to Love that was like, y'all, this is crazy as hell. So I don't even know how well, we'll come back to this, but I don't even really know how LaRon was still there at the end of the season. But he was trying to get to know Miya and basically like cussed her out in the club because she was talking to some other guy, like some guy that she knew, and was like having a
No,
conversation with him, and he like cussed her out in the club and was very like didn't understand why she was not really interested in pursuing anything further with him. And
the
then
same way for me.
the other one was a clip that actually went viral. You've probably seen this clip, even though you didn't watch. Alonzo and Koshia. So this is Koshia is the woman who was sitting at the table, and he posed like a sexual question to her. He said
Oh
something,
yeah, I saw
I can't
that.
remember. It was like it choked or something like that. Choked or spanked, I think was what he was saying. He was like, "Oh, I just said it. I just said it. It wasn't even it wasn't even sexual in nature. Like, what are you talking about? Like, there's no. It wasn't, I didn't mean it in a sexual manner. How in the world else did you mean that? Because you either meant sexually or you meant abuse.
Ain't no in between, baby.
Help me. Help me. And he was just like adamant. And Koshia was like, no, this is stupid. I'm getting up. I'm leaving. I told you I'm not engaging with that level of conversation with you because I'm like, also, she really wasn't into him like that. So it was just like, oh, a lack of safety.
Hmm.
But I have noticed that a lot of these shows, like the men are starting to kind of learn the game, especially on Married at First Sight, a little bit on Ready to Love too, actually. They're playing a game now where it's like they're trying to not be seen as like the bad guys on camera. So they're like playing with the process to try to get to know people and like trying to rig it almost so that
Hmm.
they don't come out looking like the bad guy.
And or so they could be there to the end. Because
Also,
allegedly the girls is getting checks. So the longer you on the show, the more money you get.
yeah.
That's what we heard about Love is Blind.
Mm, was it? Okay. I believe
Hmm.
that. Yeah, because once they come out of the pods and stuff, I'm sure they get a separate check for that, for making it out of the pods.
Girl. I'm like, it's just really sad though, because you have women that are going on these shows with the intention to with the intention to be open and to possibly find someone and connect with them and genuinely are seeking to try to find that connection, and then you got these out here just playing the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing that I noticed is a through line through a lot of these shows is like the men are starting to weaponize therapy language a lot. A
Hmm.
lot.
Hmm.
A lot. Uh
This is on all the things, not just these particular shows.
oh yeah, 100% all over the internet. People are talking about boundaries using that out of context. People are talking about gaslighting using that all wrong. All wrong.
Girl.
All wrong. All wrong. All wrong. All wrong. Um, and this was actually part of this podcast that I listened to with Esther Perel. Where should we begin? It's a really good podcast. Anyways, this was the episode with Brene Brown. Was it Brene
Hmm.
Brown? Like, I was like, wait a minute. I think it was Brene. Yeah. So I'll drop that down in the description box. And it was interesting, like hearing them as two I think they're both clinicians talking
Hmm.
about sort of kind of some downsides maybe to like having therapy in pop culture in the way that it is. So this is one of the things that they were talking about is how people are they getting a little bit of therapy speak and learning to like weaponize it against other people. Um Narcissism is another one that I've oh boy. The people love to throw around narcissism and that you are narcissist, and it's like it means a thing, and it's not what you think it is.
Yeah. I think the thing that I took away from the conversation between Esther and Brene was the idea of artificial emotional intelligence
Mm,
as it
mhm.
relates to this idea that we have all these therapy buzzwords in our culture now. It's in the lexicon. So people are just saying all these things, but there is no real connection. The biggest thing um that coincided or that stood out to me with that was like this: you have all these intimate social media relationships with all these thousands of people, and but when you sign off of that platform, you go home and it's just you and you're by yourself.
Yeah,
And so like you are pseudo emotionally open and vulnerable on these platforms, but in real life you don't have the bandwidth to show that emotional level of connectivity to someone
yeah,
else.
yeah. And we talked about this a little bit in our last conversation as far as like community. Like people aren't logging off and going into community and to bigger
No, community
spaces.
is online.
Like the community is online, and that's not real community. That's very, very fake. And very like superficial, and
Mm-hmm.
parasocial, honestly. It's
Mm-hmm.
very like you don't know those people.
Right.
And
And
you're
it's not to
logging
say that
off.
you cannot find people and make real relationships. I don't
No,
want to take that away,
no,
because
no,
that I
no.
have definitely done that, where I have gone into an online community and said community came and went, but I'm still in relationship with some people from that community and like good
Absolutely.
friends.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that either. Like early Twitter days, I was like literally if I traveled to a city, I'd be like, oh, like I know this
Yeah.
person, let me go meet up with this person, let me go meet up with that person. I'm still in touch with some of those people. So even though
Yeah.
they aren't on Twitter or the relationship is, you know, we don't talk every day because we're not on Twitter every day. Um, but I'm still in relationship with some of those people. So I would never take away the ability to build community online, but I feel like at some point it has to go off offline into the
Yeah.
real world, into your real problems and your real life, honestly. Another thing that I took out of that conversation was how we are pathologizing like normal everyday experiences. That
Mm-hmm.
really stood out to me as far as like just unpleasant things. Um, Even I was listening to this podcast. I was listening to The Daily, which I listen to a lot. I reference it a lot here. And it was talking about kids like not wanting to go to school and stuff. And it's just like, girl. And
That's
like they
normal.
right. And like now they have all this anxiety around going to school and like their parents are not adamant about them going and stuff. And it's just like, girl, don't nobody want to go to school. Like you just
Girl,
go.
we
You know
did
what I
not.
mean? And it's
That was
like,
my job. That's what I was told.
yeah. Or
Mommy and
even
daddy got to go to work every day. You got to go to school.
or even like when your whole community is online, like you're not getting into fights on the playground or like, you know what I mean? Having to navigate social interactions and navigate conflict and learn
Mm-hmm.
how to deal with like social norms and be able to function in the world. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like,
But
I'm
that's
happy that the people are in therapy. I'm happy that the people are taking care of themselves. I love therapy. We talk about therapy a lot here, but I think with
yes.
it being so much a part of the pop culture, something is getting it's getting diluted. Like some of the language is getting diluted, or some of the diagnoses or things that we may be in therapy to deal with. Hello, anxiety, depression. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
part of the daily lexicon, and people are just throwing this stuff around casually and not
Mm-hmm.
really getting to the bottom of it or really using it in a way that's helpful. Like they're using it to weaponize against other people, and that's not okay.
Or to like explain away their experiences
Yeah.
without
Or their
like
bad
seeking any
behavior.
sort of resolution. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
their bad behavior. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people use these things to explain away their bad behavior.
But the thing about the issue with the children, I feel like because everything is such a digitally focused world, and like understandably that's the way in which our society is moving, the children are losing their social skills because they're on their phones, they're on their laptops, and this is
Mhm.
also in the schoolroom as well, the classroom as well.
Yeah.
Like they don't the interacting and the basic things that you learned how to communicate with your peers, they don't necessarily have that because is so much individual time on these devices.
Yeah. One of my cousins is a juvenile probation officer, and
Oh,
she's
her
like bringing
stories be
back,
funny, y'all.
she's like peer-to-peer justice. That's what she calls it. But I'm like, a little light bullying. Listen, I'm not saying like everybody has to get the shit beat out of them every day. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about knowing you can't say crazy shit all the time. We talk about this with Candy Ache. Like,
Mhm.
knowing you can't say crazy shit because somebody might pop you in the mouth. Like, that is peer-to-peer justice. That is something that is getting missed now, because every time somebody like is experiencing consequences, then all of a sudden they're being bullied. And it's like, no, it's not. Sometimes they're just getting consequences in for their actions. And sometimes the
Mhm.
consequence for their action is that they talk so much shit that they need to get popped in their mouth from a peer.
I mean,
And
or
that's
we're
how
not
deep.
promoting kid on kid violence, guys. We're just saying this
I'm
is
just
like
saying,
old
like,
school
that
train
was,
of thought.
I'm just saying, like, that was the consequences when we were kids. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
like getting some sort of like correction, and everything. Like, everything is not bullying. Sometimes it is honestly consequences. I think there's a difference between like bullying when somebody hasn't done anything to you, but when you're talking big shit and like somebody is just like, I'm not putting up with that anymore.
Mhm.
It's
But you
different.
know, the opposite end of that, as someone who realized in my like adulthood that my first experiences with any sort of like bullying came from inside of my household, and having these hard conversations with the people that perpetrated these offenses against me, like their way of thinking is like that. And it's like, girl, no, like what you did was basically the epitome of bullying, and it caused this type of like reaction and or effect in terms of change in my own personality. And I realized that this shit is the what it is now, and why I operate with you the way in which I do. Like,
Yeah, I'm more so talking about like peers. You know what I mean? Like, for me, a lot of
yeah,
my
no, I
bullying
understand that.
came from cousins. Like, I didn't really get bullied at school, but like I would get bullied at not bullied, but like, there was like the peer to peer. Some of it was bullying, but it's like, girl, that's
See?
but some of it was like, that's the character. That's how you build character. And it's like, I'm not saying that it was all right, but I'm not saying it was all wrong either. And I think some of it is a little bit of overcorrection on the millennial side
Yeah,
of life, of how we were raised, and we're just like, I don't want any of that. And it's like, some of it was good. Some of it was good. Some of it
I'll
was
give you that.
like consequences.
Crazy.
And I think sometimes that maybe there aren't as many consequences. That's all I'm saying.
Touche. The hell, they don't have no kind of consequences these days. Everybody's getting gently parented or not parented at all.
That's a whole other conversation. But yes, I just want us to like find a good balance, and not weaponize our language that we are using to heal. Honestly, like, so much
Agreed.
of what we're using this language for is to heal, and to heal our own traumas. And like, we don't have to weaponize that, or nor do we have to pass it down to next generations in a way that is crippling them
Yeah.
emotionally, and in relationship. Like, it's gotta be a balance. Gotta be a balance. I think that's
Yeah.
all we're asking for. So get down in the comments. Let us know what you think about these dating shows. Let us know what you think about how therapy language is being used in pop culture, especially if you've been to therapy and you know how these things are supposed to go and what they actually mean. Please let
Or if
us
you're a clinician.
know. Or if you're a clinician, for sure. And yeah, let us know down in the comments. Until next time, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.